Hey everybody, today's legal question. Can a special needs trust pay for rent and food? I have the somewhat complex answer for you in just a second. Before we get there, I'd like you to imagine a close friend going through a tough time that creeped into their lives, but they were prepared because you shared this video. We would appreciate it, as will your friend. I'm Valerie Zammitti, an estate planning attorney in New York and New Jersey, and we're here to educate everyone for free. So please drop your questions for us so we can try to answer them for you and hopefully together help some folks along the way. Now, special needs trusts, also sometimes called supplemental needs trusts, can be a little bit of a tricky animal. In fact, at the onset, I should explain that there are two different types of special needs trusts. There's a first-party supplemental needs trust or a third-party supplemental needs trust. Just as a basic definition, the first-party trust is created with the monies of the disabled party, whereas a third party is an outside person's funds that go into creating that trust. That's important because the way they are treated and the way they can be created are a little different. When the person who is seeking assistance from the government is using their own monies to create this trust in hopes to use it for things supplemental to what Medicaid offers, Medicaid will look for recovery back from that trust at the passing of that person, since they had assets available to them. Whereas a third-party supplemental needs trust, say a parent or a grandparent is creating a trust on behalf of someone they love, there's not necessarily that need for the assets to be recovered back to Medicaid. Granted, Medicaid is a federal program. It is administered by the states, so you should check with your local attorney and how they are treated. Now, back to the question at hand as to whether or not this type of trust in general can provide for rent and food for the disabled party. The answer in general is no. It should not be used for the food, the clothing, the shelter of that individual. Again, it's what we call a supplemental needs trust. You're turning to the government because you need them to pay for those core basics of living. There is one exception, and that would be whether the trust owns a piece of property, a home, where that disabled party lives. Now, if that's the case and the trust owns it, then it's maintained under that trust. But you should, again, really look back to whether or not you have a first-party supplemental needs trust, meaning using the disabled person's money, or a third-party supplemental needs trust. If it is the first-party supplemental needs trust, if that home is owned in there, you're not going to really be spending down the home. Medicaid, at the passing of that individual, will be looking for recovery back from that home value. So maybe not the wisest idea if that's your circumstance. The supplemental needs trust, though, can be used for other things: travel, entertainment, excess medical or care needs. These are the things that are outside the scope of what Medicaid provides, and that is what the trust should be used for. We hope this information has been helpful to you or a friend, and that you learned something new today and choose to share. And as always, please take care.